few dishes to be done because there aren't dishwashers allowed.
Changing careers was a big step for Janine Giles, especially with 7-year-old Catherine in tow.
It would have been a big barrier if I didn't have this affordable housing.
Finding Varsity Courts meant she could afford her education, and Catherine had a community.
This is outside.
But the 200 or so units left on this complex are set to be torn down and redeveloped as part of the university district.
The concern is not that there's change and development, but the concern is that there isn't an alternative to affordable family housing.
When I came here as an international student from Bangladesh, my daughter was 3 years old, and then my son, he was also born here.
One of the few thousand international graduate students enrolled at the U of C, Sujoy Sabroto has lived here with his family for 5 years. Of course, he expects it will be difficult to find something suitable nearby and affordable. But he says being on a study permit makes renting even more complicated.
Oftentimes, the house owner, they are kind of like very much reluctant to rent a house because we don't have any fixed income and we are on international student status. So this is another layer of struggle on top of affordability crisis.
These buildings are over 50 years old, and it's just, at that point, it's time for them to be decommissioned and then as we look at building new infrastructure.
Shane Royal with U of C says the plan to decommission the complex has been in place since 2001. The housing crisis wasn't exactly part of that. Royal says they extended the project in response.
I would say if you go back 4 or 5 years, there wasn't a large desire to stay in Varsity Courts. There were some people staying, but there were years where we were a third empty. Had demand not changed, we probably would have decommissioned it a bit sooner, but knowing that there was higher demand, we wanted to stretch that out as much as possible and reasonable.
There are no plans for more family housing at this time, but the university is in the early stages of designing new on-campus residence. Jo Horwitz, CBC News, Calgary.